And of all the big-time wide receivers taken in the 2023 NFL Draft, none are going more under the radar than Jaxson Smith Njigba. At this time last year, JSN was a projected top 15 pick and the clear number 1 wideout in this year's draft. Unfortunately, due to injury, JSN would miss pretty much the entirety of the 2022 season, which made scouts question if he was worthy of a first-round pick or worthy of a long-term NFL career. Ultimately, I don't think that'll be much of a factor, and in today's video, I want to introduce you to Jaxson Smith Njigba, talk about how he got to this point, his insane Ohio State career, and why he's a great fit with the Seahawks. But before we get started, be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new and love college football content, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover in my next one. Now, let's get started and talk about the insane rise of Jaxson Smith Njigba. In order to understand how Jaxson Smith Njigba became the best receiver in college football, we first need to go back in time. To know a little bit more about JSN, he is of Sierra Leone descent, and he grew up in a very athletic family, as his brother actually played baseball for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jaxson lived and breathed football, and people knew for a long time that he was going to be a special player. Before he was even a freshman, JSN was making big plays. As his coach said, quote, "I'll never forget watching him run around catching footballs, and I'm making eye contact with our offensive coordinator from across the field, like what in the world is going on here?" He was good enough to make the varsity roster as a true freshman, and he didn't have a prolific year, as he only caught 8 passes for 105 yards and no touchdowns while playing in 8 games, but no one blamed him. The guy was literally 15 years old. As a junior, JSN would make a name for himself as he became a 5-star player. He finished that season with 95 catches for 1,828 yards and 20 touchdowns during his junior campaign. In one game against Allen, Texas, JSN's stat line was stuff of a legend. 15 catches, 258 yards, 5 touchdowns. Plus, he had another touchdown running the ball. He got better and better and better and blew up on the recruiting scene, and it all peaked his senior year. He caught 104 passes for 2,094 yards and 35 touchdowns. This dude was not human and was making history, but where would he go to school? Well, he eventually chose Ohio State over TCU, Notre Dame, Cal, Arizona State, Colorado, Nebraska, Boston College, Baylor, Virginia, and Nebraska. He had this to say about why he chose Ohio State. Quote, "I committed to Ohio State early because the process can be draining, and I really hate talking on the phone. But that doesn't mean recruiting has stopped. When I visited last November, I swear I could smell the expectation of winning in the air in Columbus. It was a very easy decision for me to commit that weekend. I knew that if I was going to be 16 hours away from home, the school would have to meet the criteria that my parents gave me. I needed to choose a program that could develop me as a wide receiver and as a man. And it had to be one that could compete for a national championship. Plus, my parents wanted it to be close to a major airport." So yes, it seemed like Ohio State was going to be a great fit for JSN, and this was a huge get for Brian Hartline. JSN would end up going down in Texas football history. He finished his career with 5,346 yards and 82 touchdowns while playing in 44 total games. He was 3rd in receiving yards in Texas high school football history, and this translated to high rankings. According to 24/7 Sports, JSN was a 5-star recruit, the number 5 receiver, and the 29th best player in the class of 2020. So going into a loaded program, how would JSN do? Going into his Ohio State career, Ryan Day was obviously the head coach, and Justin Fields would be his quarterback. But it wasn't either of those two who had high praise for him. Chris Olave said, quote, "Jaxson is as good as I've ever seen. Probably the best I've ever seen. Jaxson is the most natural athlete I've ever seen." That is extremely high praise. As he also said, he's a rare talent. He's slippery in the slot, and he has that sneaky speed. He made that jump, especially from year 1 going into year 2, and I can't wait to watch him. So yeah, he talked about how he made a jump, but how did he do as a true freshman? Well, he had a couple moments. In their first game against Nebraska, he caught 2 passes for 5 yards in his first career touchdown, and that is when he had that awesome 1-toe down catch. That was all over highlight reels, but unfortunately the rest of the year wasn't. He caught 1 pass against Penn State, 1 pass against Indiana, 2 against Rutgers, and that is all he did during the regular season. Ohio State would obviously make the college football playoff, and in their win over Clemson, he caught 2 passes for 12 yards. In their loss to Alabama, he caught 2 passes for 20 yards. In total, JSN didn't do a whole lot as a freshman, as he finished with 10 total receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown. Many saw his potential, but would he put it all together in 2021? The answer is yes. Despite having 3 proven targets in Jeremy Ruckert, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson, JSN would end up becoming the best on the team. After helping them beat Minnesota, he'd go for a career night as he caught 7 passes for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 7-point loss to Oregon. This loss proved to be devastating for the Buckeyes' playoff chances, but this is when JSN just got going. 2 weeks later, he had 5 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown against Akron, had 5 catches for over 100 yards against Maryland, and then 6 catches for 99 yards against Indiana. The Buckeyes were once again rolling, and they had a huge game with number 20 Penn State at home. JSN would go off in this one as well, as he caught 6 passes for 97 yards in that game, and then he had a huge one against Nebraska. In that game, he caught a career-high 15 passes for 240 yards and a touchdown, and helped them beat Nebraska in a close game on the road. This would only be the beginning of how incredibly he finished the year. The following weekend against number 19 Purdue, he caught 9 passes for 139 yards and a score, and then in a crucial victory over number 7 Michigan State, he caught 10 for 105 and a score in that one. Despite him having an incredible game against Michigan, they ended up losing 42-27 on the road against the Wolverines, and his 11 catches for 127 yards were just not enough. Ohio State would go 10-2 in the regular season, and this meant no college football playoff or no Big Ten championship for this group. They would still get an opportunity to play in the Rose Bowl, and this would be a glimpse of the future of Ohio State. Both Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave opted out of the bowl game, so it was just going to be the JSN show. Against number 11 Utah, JSN proved why he's the best receiver going into 2022, and why he should be a top 10 talent in the 23 NFL Draft. In this game, he caught 15 passes for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. This broke all sorts of records, and it also helped fuel them to a 48-45 victory over number 11 Utah. This Rose Bowl was a thrilling game, and it showed what JSN could do when he was getting most of the targets. He finished the season as an All-American after posting 95 receptions for 1,606 yards and 9 touchdowns. He averaged nearly 17 yards per carry, and it seems he did just about everything. No, he was not the tallest receiver in the world, but he ran great routes, never dropped passes, made big plays, and had that it factor to him. That is why he had an insane amount of hype for 2022, but unfortunately, we never really got to see much of him. It was announced in their game against number 5 Notre Dame. Against number 5 Notre Dame, JSN went down with an injury and only caught 2 passes for 3 yards in that game and would disappear for a long time. We saw him make a couple catches against Toledo, and he even had one against Iowa, but he only appeared in 3 games in 2022, finishing with 5 catches for 43 yards, as Marvin Harrison Jr. did everything that he was supposed to do. It still didn't really matter to JSN though, because he was probably going to be a first-round pick, and throughout the pre-draft process, he was consistently ranked inside the teens. He ended up getting taken with the 20th overall pick in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks, and in my opinion, this is a terrific fit for JSN. The Seahawks are in a really good spot and are trying to compete now, and he'll be a consistent receiver that I believe has great production and will last in the league for a long time. No, he's not the tallest or most physical wideout, but he's quick, will catch pretty much every ball that comes his way, will work really hard, and is a great route runner. I'm really excited to see what he'll do with the Seahawks, and the big question mark is, will he stay healthy? Personally, I don't think the injury will be that big of a deal, but what do you guys think? If you're a Seahawks or an Ohio State fan, what do you think of JSN, and what player should I take a look at next from this year's draft? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.